wanted to end this post-ignorance book right here where I started it, in front of the Stewart Library. Do not plagiarize me. Do not plagiarize me. Life is round. Does it come full circle? Is this the end, or is this the beginning? And my post-ignorance, it is the beginning. Do not plagiarize me. Do not plagiarize me. Do not plagiarize me. I want to show you something before I read the very last page of this post-ignorance experience that I've walked through when I set out for this PhD study and this art movement 2 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago. This YouTube site of mine is young. It is still young. That's Mariner's signature. It is very young. Did I think it would end up where it's ended up? Is this all about a counter art movement? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is all resistance art? Oh yes. It is a cultural circle that the path took me down a road that I never thought I'd ever go. You remember, I wrote this book before I got cancer. Long before I got cancer. I'll finish up chapter 7 tomorrow because I have not been able to read that chapter online because I haven't been able to read a word of it because I have to learn to face death. One thing about this that I've learned, facing death. The one thing that I didn't do before. I do it now. As the raven squawks, as I would run from him. Not now. I face him. Walk right through them. Life is more than who we are. And the roundness of life will catch up to us all. The L-ribbons and the medal givers and the liars and the neo-ignorant byproducts, the culprits, will pay in life in more than who they are. I have not one, but 2 grandsons on the way. My first grandsons, my first boys. I had all girls. They are due 1 week apart, both boys. I'll call them a pair of 11s. Life is round, life is taken, it is given, it is a precious, precious gift. And we have somehow forgotten that fact. We have minimalized life. Life is a passion, it is a literature, it is painting, it is the hawk and trout, it is the keystrokes, it is the paintbrush, it is the picnic at the spiral jetty, it is the hike atop Mount Ogden, it is a baseball game or season, it is music, it is the sun, and the sweat running down my broken back, aching muscles in the struggle and the fight, in passion and in grace. It is the look in a young man or woman's eyes when they are 15 or 16 or 17, before the sick take them from us. It is post-ignorance. I will scream, I will rant. It is my duty to all those who have died in the name of neo-ignorance. We are the voice. We live as much as we can, as we think they would have us want us to live. My father feared no one or nothing. He stood up to everyone or anything in the name of intelligence, hard work, education, mine, not from birth, but from hard work and compassion of all men, not just the ones who think or look like I do. I will believe he would want me to live. I will live like he wanted me to live, with honor and courage, in the true meaning of honor, not a yellow ribbon or a lie, in the truth of the soul of all men. This neo-ignorant period started with the election of an old actor and the killing of a peace-giving genius artist by a religious, confused, mentally ill freak. It started with a reversal in economic philosophy to become that of science fiction writer. It started with the boycotting of the 1980 Olympics, the invasion of Afghanistan. It is ending with the election of a half-white, half-black, broken-home man with a wife with the last name of Robinson. Remember Jackie? And the stopping of the invasion of Afghanistan and the birth of a whole bunch of little 11s. Hopefully one of the millions of new babies born this year will be as brilliant as John Lennon and transform a culture, and Lennon did. Not as a man, as the same pronounced name as the Ayn Rand countercultural fuel. The artist Lennon, John. The 30-year cycle is over. It is over, and all the fakers should go back to their basement. They came out of an high. Take the hairspray off. It is over. There are lyrics to the song that can summarize the entire 30-year cycle in period 1980 to 2010. It fits every power, small sex freak, and politician in the all neo-ignorant glory. He is plain ugly to me, and I wonder if he has ever had a day of fun in his whole life. Sheryl Crow. That line is the powers and the politics of the great neo-ignorant conservative movement. As a great man said, let us realize that the arc of moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Martin Luther King. the keystrokes, the paintbrush, the $3 throwaway camera, the flip video camera, the hawk, that trial. I am the economist, I am the historian, I am the derivative specialist, I am the environmentalist, I am the humanitarian, I am a man who bleeds like all men, and I am an artist, always the artist first. Life is round, let a new cycle begin, one of post-ignorance. I see post-ignorance as a pure art movement in the concept of art itself, in the concept of art as culture, in the concept that people are culture, in the concept that the inspiration, influence are great historical artists, like Van Gogh and Malay, like Pollock's reference to Kandinsky, like Monet's to the sunlight, morning, dawn, winter, fall, spring. It is influenced by the invogement of the time. Stay tuned, I am 50 now, neo-ignorance 30, post-ignorance now. As my father used to say, the end. It is not the end, the beginning. As my father used to say, boy, you way too pretty to have an opinion. Well, I'm not so pretty no more. As I like to say, you think I was born with these scars across my face? It took years of living in this violent place. I am the blood that runs down these mountain peaks into those great Salt Lake marshes. I am that clean, pure, white, sharp sand from the great, ancient Lake Bonneville shores of my grandfather's sand pit. I am that. I am a truth teller. Post-ignorance. One last thing, as I am like Malay, and I do step back, and I do view from the broader perspective, I will leave it with this. I see post-ignorance as a pure art movement in the concept of art itself, in the concept of art as culture, in the concept that people are culture, in the concept that inspiration and influence are great historical artists like Van Gogh and Malay, like poets Retsus Kandinsky, like Molay's to the sun, morning, light, dawn, winter, spring. It is influenced by the invogement of the time. My look at culture and art there is today, economic theory, popular culture, art. They're more of the lack thereof art, the mind of seeing when others for some cognitive reason do not see. As the counter to what I have termed neo-ignorance is post-ignorance. I see post-ignorance like this. As a movement of pure intellectualism, as a broad intellectualism. Not I know art history, not I know how to draw like a camera, not I know how to interpret, not I know how to incorporate. But I know culture, I know environments in the more exposed manner. I know economics, I know geopolitics, I know metaphors good and bad. I know struggle and what it feels like to be stolen in wealth and artistic and benevolent. I have painted in this moment for 20 years. I have designed in this mindset for 20 years. I have used color in this mindset for 45 years. I have written in this mindset for 20 years. I have plastered in this mindset for 34 years, 135 days. It is grounded into my brain and my hawk and try and overused back, that twisted scar that is impassioned by the 10,000 plaster jobs I have done. It is fueled by the pain of watching my father, Blanch, a pure genius in life, being loaded into a body bag as he died with the mind of Picasso or Dali or Melville. His mind, as he died, on fire with sharpness, a grass fire, killed by American ignorance, atomic draft of marine via spite and hate, by competitive ugly people, by a scar across my severed tongue, and a byproduct of a mythical idealism that joy comes from the exploitation of brown people, grounded in the crushed face and the scar across my face, by deformed nose and missing upper jaw, bone and fake teeth, sponsored by brass knuckles and the hair sucker pinch by my own nephew. Who needed to rob a 75-year-old woman on the ancient lake floor, alone on the ancient lake floor, influenced by Robert Smith, who patted me on the head and winked me in 1970 as my father talked to him at the spiral jetty, influenced by Mariner Eccles, who put his genius-carrying soul to humanity. Economic theory is all economic theory, based as a religion and used as a weapon. His one of compassion, if not today, as the past 30 years summits by greed on hate. He lived and worked right up the road from me, influenced by the architecture of Leslie Hopps and Art Deco giants, whose I stared at and lived in and learned in and watched my father, grandfathers, and myself trade graddle futures in suitcases of cash. In and around touch me, visual and taste, influenced the invogance of popular opinion, tearing John Affleck, wanting to tear down Ogden High, of tearing down the Ogden Canyon rock retaining walls and replacing with barricades. With my rock plastering business, blanch plastering offered to restore it for free. Influenced by the mother who could draw a line like a camera pin. It's influenced by the great teachers and living in the great cosmopolitan city that was slowly passing away in Art Deco decay. Great teachers who love art and exposed me to art, influenced by the inherited wealth losers who some tried to go to artists and English teachers at the high school level, who kicked me out of school, then later begged me to stuck with their studios and did. I've embraced knowledge for birth. I'm a visual believer. Learn from documentaries. Learn from experience. See the landscape of culture and the landscape of the place you live in a television, a computer screen, and a walk along a local river, and a hike to the top of Mount Og, through a picnic at the Spiral Jetty, through a drive over Monte Cristo, through a vase that sits on my mantle, made from the redwood of the dismantled 1904 Union Pacific Causeway. A heighten in my brain, all of my brain, not just the front and center, of the cause and the effect of ignorance, the Freudian agenda masquerading as media. Ignorance, like of ignorance, and Freudian agenda masquerading. Ignorance like that premeditated murder of my beautiful father. The brown pigment of his colored eyes burned to dark drool like the Great Salt Lake in early spring. I know ignorance. I have lived ignorance in the pain. The murder of my father, the killing of my lifeline passions. Fake rock, fake stucco, fake stone, the abuse of slice-side economics, the murder of hundreds of thousands of them knowing anything about drawing lines and calling them nationalists, the non-existence of any art movement, and the destruction of thinking in vogue and visual ideas. Post-ignorance is intelligent art with things and people and places and experience, with a flip video camera always around my neck, with going from poor to rich to poor, and living a starving artist at 50, watching my big magnificent environmental artwork at 1150 South, 444 West, where Melina laid and died. West Weaver being hammered down, like the great thinker said. The true archive is born from the artistic, mysterious enigma and mystic creation. It detaches itself from him. It acquires an autonomous life, becomes a personal and independent subject, animating a spiritual breath, a living subject of a real existence. Kandinsky, hammered down like the aesthetic O'Neill and Hamlet, turned into an Orwellian piece of shit popular opinion loves. The average suburbanite, inattention to a commentary, but not documentary in regard to ignorance. I fully can't even show via YouTube plastering my Hawk-tried color on my canvas and paper, my education, my schooled in travel and real business and academia, as what as humans live in the aggregate of the most ignorance unseen in the modern world. This book will support culture's inevitable reality of the embracing of ignorance and its popular opinion as a military-industrial giant and all its horrible, grotesque byproducts point by point. That's what post-ignorance is, and I think it's a great metaphor as the crane backs up, as the military jets, as any art movement is met with huge resistance. This will be met with massive huge resistance. The truth, as these historians want to freaking talk about Mariner. Bring them on. Bring on the destructions. Bring on the attack. What are you going to do to me? Give me leukemia? I wrote this before I fought for my life. I'm going back in tomorrow for another bone marrow biopsy in the top of that grand hospital, LDS, which LDS needs to come off the top of it because they do not do anything for patients there. They don't own it. They don't participate. They don't support it. And I learned the hard way. As I got sick, and I said it like this, I found out how to get rid of the Mormons. Because here comes more resistance. They're at your house every 3 days. They still count me as a Mormon. I grew up in infamous bloodlines. I am a Mormon. Tell them you have a dilapidating disease that you could very well pass away from. Leukemia, AML, which kills 70% of people, get it within 8 months. As I was critical fighting for my life, they would come in and want to pray with me. But when it come financially, come anything, not only would they drive by my house, they would look the other way. Not one of them been around, none of them through the community. Not the bishop, not the, and remember, I'm a 6th generation from the very first people there. My grandfather ran the church welfare farm for free. I worked on it as a boy for free. For years and years, I hoed beets, I picked tomatoes, I worked like my grandfather ran it for years. I come from Abraham Hunsaker IV is my grandfather. You don't think that his father and his father did so much for this community? You better read up on that guy, any of you people who live in Northern. But yet they did not come to my aid, they did not come to my side, not one penny, not one freaking, hey Kev, you need your house payment paid, how you fix financial, none of that. I won't forget that because that's who they are, that's who the people we are. Because as John Steinbeck said it so best, we went from the we to the I, back to Mariner Eccles' we. Here, and he was a Mormon. We went back to the I. We went from the Eccles we to the Ayn Rand philosophical idealism Greenspan. Remember, Greenspan did his PhD on Ayn Rand. And now you got Romney appoints an Ayn Rander for the VP. And remember this, Harry Reid's a Mormon, not from Utah. Karl Rove's a Mormon, not from Utah. Mitt Romney's a Mormon, not from Utah. I'm a Mormon from Utah.